Recently, more Jewish voices have been speaking up on social media since the war began and following the global rise in antisemitism. Known online as Jewish Jess, Jess has become one of the most recognizable British Jewish influencers on social media. Through her straightforward and honest content, she shares the realities of Jewish life and calls out antisemitism and anti-Zionism. Her voice is blunt, authentic, unfiltered, and unapologetically Jewish. Recently, I sat down with her and began by asking her what drives this passion.
I think it's more a case of what started it for me, and then then my passion grew over time. Is I noticed how crazy the world of anti-Semitism had become post October the 7th. I started seeing trends on social media, people supporting what had happened, and I thought that I couldn't stay silent. And at the beginning, it was really spurned on by sort of the hatred of the other side that motivated me to be so outspoken. And over time, my passion and my love for Israel and for Judaism and for our people grew. And now I'm at the point of the most Jewish I've ever been, the most in touch with my Israeli side as I've ever been. And it keeps me going every day knowing that in many ways I'm sort of helping our community.
How would you say the war has shaped or influenced your advocacy from before until now?
Massively. But prior to the war itself, prior to October the 7th, I was not an advocate in the slightest. I'd never even posted content. So from October the 7th onwards, I committed to doing this because I knew a lot about the subject and I wanted to sort of educate people who maybe didn't know. And I think over time, my mindset has shifted slightly. At the beginning, I was a lot more compassionate and a lot more empathetic. But I think over time, seeing how the world has sort of shunned us as a people, it kind of insulated me into being a lot more focused on looking after ourselves before we look after anyone else. And yes, I think the span of this war has massively changed public perception of us as a people, which has in turn changed my opinions on how we have to behave as a people as well.
Right. And I think it's incredible work that you're doing. And I'm sure you get a lot of comments, some positive, some not so great, obviously. I wanted to ask you, how do you deal more with the negative comments or the hate comments? Or do you experience that?
I would say it's 95% hate versus 5% support, which in all honesty, at the beginning I took it really personally, but I realized over time that there is no need to take this personally. A lot of the people that sit and type on their keyboards are nothing more than your atypical keyboard warrior, and they might say these things to me online, but they would never say it to my face. And I can't take it personally. I think that the world is so jaded and has become so susceptible to propaganda that I'm not surprised that people have these assumptions about us. And quite frankly, I don't care anymore what they think about me, what they think about us. Rather, it's sort of flipped it on its head where any hate comment I get is sort of my motivation and my driving force to keep going. And I'm like, bring it on, bring it on.
Wow, that's amazing. And I see that in your videos, and it's amazing that it drives you. And I just wanted to ask, you mentioned before, a big part of what motivates you is the anti-Semitism and, given the rise in anti-Semitism globally, especially in the UK, would you say you feel safe living in England now?
So I felt safe. I was feeling safe up until probably the last sort of 6 months. I think that it degraded here very quickly. It got really bad really quickly for Jewish people. A lot of people in my community have taken their mezuzahs off their front doors and won't wear their necklaces and are trying to be very privately Jewish, but in public would never dare to admit that they're Jewish. I am not the type of person who would ever hide my identity. I've only in the last 2 years have I truly reclaimed completely being the most proud Jew ever, and I'm not about to let anyone take that from me now. So me personally, yes, I'm worried, and yes, I fear for my personal safety, but I won't let it take away from the fact that I'm the most proud Jew in the United Kingdom, and let them try it. But I mean, the UK is not
Right.
safe. I'm in the process of making Aliyah, and I'm hoping that my family will come shortly afterwards, because with the current government that we've got in place and the very little support that we get as a people, I don't think it's the best place to be Jewish right now.
How is that process going? Or what drives you to make Aliyah?
So I've been in the process of Aliyah for about 3 months. The main thing that sort of flips it on its head for me, I personally had never considered Aliyah. I've grown up, I was born here in the UK, I've had an amazing life. Um, but I came to Israel 3 months ago on a trip, on a holiday, as I do so often. Um, and when I was there, I felt a new sense of calm and a new sense of safety that I feel like I'd been lacking in England over the sort of 6 months that I had been in England and I hadn't been abroad. Um, and I sort of arrived there, and cliche, but I just felt like a sense of relief, and I felt like I was at home. And I spent the full 2 weeks of that trip just the most happy I'd been in a long time, despite the fact that we were in the midst of the worst war. We were,
Right.
Iran was about to attack. They started their attack the day I left. We had the Houthis waking us up at 4 a.m. every morning, and I was in the shelter every day at 4. And I was still calmer, safer, and happier. Um, and as I was in the airport on my way home back to England, I filled in the Jewish agency forms and I said, I'm done. I'm done. I need to be here. I'm happy here. And I've been in the process, and the process has been actually really nice and easy. You get assigned a supportive person who helps you through the process. The paperwork is lengthy, but you get so much support that I'm now at the sort of very back end of it, where I'm just waiting for the document to come back that says I'm Olim and I'm done.
Wow, that's really exciting. And I also often tell people, by the way, that I do feel safer here, coming from London and seeing the anti-Semitism rise everywhere. It's very scary. Would you say you have any fears about coming here, or like the next steps? They say the war is over, but how do you feel about that?
I don't have any fear. I have more reason, sadly, to fear my life here, where I receive very credible death threats and very, very legitimate threats, as opposed to in Israel, where the Israeli government have done the absolute utmost to make sure that we are, as a people, protected, and they've done everything in their power to ensure that the Jewish people within Israel are safe. So they've built adequate shelter, and they've got the Iron Dome, and there's so much in place to protect us as a people, whereas here in the UK there is nothing, and the government refuses to take any accountability and do any form of protection. So no, I have no fear whatsoever coming to Israel. I don't think the war is over. I'm not sort of naive enough to assume that it is, especially with what happened today. There was a ceasefire break. I think the war has more or less just begun. I think now is where the hard work sort of kicks in, for especially on the advocacy side. But no, I'm not fearful in the slightest. I already feel relief knowing that I'll be there in a few months.
And I guess my last question would be, as an advocate, like, what's your main message? What would you tell other people who also want to get involved and want to, show Israel in the truer light?
I think the most important thing is, and what I've been saying from day one, is firstly, own being Jewish. Own being not just Jewish, even if you're not Jewish and you're a Zionist, own it, appreciate it, and be proud about it, because there is nothing wrong with being Jewish. There is nothing wrong with being a Zionist. There is nothing wrong with supporting Israel. And the more people who come forward and claim that, the less sort of um, unacceptable it becomes. And we're all too aware of the silent majority. I think it's time for the silent majority to speak up. There's never been a better time to look at your Jewish friends and your Jewish community nearby and say they actually really do need our support right now. So I think that's really important. I think anyone that's looking to get into advocacy, um, start somewhere. We, you know, everyone who's advocating now and who's grown platforms, we all started from nothing. I started on October the 7th, 2023 with 0 followers, and 0 reach. And it took me a very long time to get to where I am today. But it takes commitment and persistence. And if you believe and stand behind what you're saying enough, and you have enough like fortitude and strength within yourself, you will get there. It's just a matter of time. So commit to it, work at it every day, and the more you commit, the more results you'll see.
Thank you for joining us,
Pleasure.
and I'm sure we'll see more of you soon.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Bye.